come over here.
Worse than the birds.
Yeah, worse than the birds, Wes says. Nah, nothing could be worse than the birds. What? Never heard of it. All right, many of you have been into this sweet cherry orchard that through funding from the Mass Fruit Growers Research Fund. I brought back some ideas from Michigan, decided I ought to plant sweet cherries. 6 years later, it's a lot of work.
When are you going to finish picking them?
Yeah, good question. So these are, like I said, this orchard's in its 6th leaf. I do have a handout, forgot about it almost, so let me start that around and just split it in half maybe halfway this way. There's about 12 different varieties in here on 2 different dwarfing rootstocks, Gisela 5 and Gisela 6. It's a replicated planting. John had every intention of taking a fair amount of data on here. I have taken some to date, but like I said, when it comes to harvest, given the time constraints this time of the year with everything that has been done, it's been a little tough. But I have collected some harvest data, and I'm starting to get a real good feeling. This is the 2nd year it's really cropped. It should have cropped 3 years ago, but that was a bad winter. And the same year we lost a lot of peaches, we lost a lot of the fruit buds in here on these sweet cherries too. But the bottom line is I've started to get some really good observations on the fruit, and that's what I'm handing out. I had another train of thought here too, and I'm trying to think what that is. I mean, cherries aren't for the faint of heart. For one thing, I mean, obviously we're actually past the peak of harvest on them. So you don't want to plant cherries if you want to be taking June and early July off. And this may be an issue with some growers who really don't want to deal with the early harvest season or don't want to open their farm markets or whatever. That being said, I'm really impressed this year. Despite all the rain, cracking hasn't been too bad. I did use some vapor guard on these trees. The birds have been a real pain. I haven't figured that one out 100% yet. My overall feeling, if you're serious about growing these, is they probably need to be covered because there's too much, if you can market it all, there's too much crop value here to let it go to waste. There's probably, the crop value in here would probably pay for a cover in 1 year, is my feeling. Variety-wise, hopefully, you can take that home and study it if you're interested. I may not have made enough handouts for everybody. I figured not everybody was going to be interested in growing cherries here. But it kind of gives you my gut feeling after 2 years of harvest on what varieties are worth considering and what maybe not. I put on display here, how's our time doing, by the way? I'm sure we're late. I put on display 2 varieties, however, that are just about right now. On the left is Regina, and I'm real impressed with Regina. Beautiful, good size for this time of the year, a little cracking. Regina is a cherry that came from Germany, which is a semi-humid environment. So I suspect it's been selected for resistance to cracking. Real impressive at this time of the year. The other one is Balaton, which I've talked about in meetings. Balaton is a tart cherry, actually, and it's actually a sweet tart cherry. I mean, you can eat it. It's unlike Montmorency. I think it's got a little more sugar in it. It's got red flesh. It can be picked stemless, which makes the picking easy. It's been a very easy tree to work with. Another one that at this season I would definitely recommend. There's a couple others there on the handout that I won't go into that I think are worth the planting too. If I had to do this all over again, no, I would, because I'm a glutton for punishment. Actually, I got a field right over there that I got in mind. I just need to come up with about $35,000 to put in a ½ acre with a cover. But the Gisela 5 versus 6 difference has been interesting. The Gisela 6 is clearly a larger tree. In some cases, for some varieties, that's a good thing. But overall, I don't like having to deal with a larger tree. Obviously, this is probably a Gisela 6 right here. It's going to be a lot harder to cover. I'd do Gisela 5 in a minute with 4 or 5 different varieties that I think are going to work well. And I think you could easily develop that into a real big pick-your-own or direct market situation. These quarts ought to retail for about $6 each, and I think the quality warrants that price. That's all I got to say on them. Any questions, comments at this point in time? You know, we're going to go across to the road. You can walk through the block. All the trees are labeled.
Wes wants to say one thing.
Oh, okay.
before we go
Let
across.
me finish and then we can.
Yep.
Okay. You feel free to help yourself at this point in time. I will say that I gave up on brown rot control a couple of weeks ago, so there's some significant brown rot in there. That would have been easily solved with a more rigorous spray schedule. Help yourself to any of these cherries here, and I'll be around.